Welcome back. This is Sandy with Sandy's Organized Chaos, and today we're going to be doing this abstract gingerbread man tumbler. As always, I'll make sure to put everything that I used today down in the description box below so that you guys can shop those items if you'd like to. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and let's wake up, prep these tumblers, and slay all day. Let's do this. All right, I'm using a big tumbler today. I'm using a big old 30-ounce skinny straight tumbler, and I went ahead and I prepped and I primed it this Rustic Pink, but an alternative to the Rustic Pink, if you can't find it in the stores, is this pop of color and blush. It matches very, very well to that color. Now my base is pretty straightforward. I'm just going to be using one chunky glitter to go underneath everything. So I am using 10 milliliters of epoxy to coat my entire tumbler with. I'm using all 10 mLs for it. This is really going to help our glitters lay nice and flat for us after we apply them. All right, after you have your epoxy all applied, you can go ahead and apply your glitter. I'm using Fuzzy Navel, and you can find this glitter at sscglitters.com if you would like to use this glitter. If not, use your favorite opal iridescent color you already have on hand. Now, instead of applying my glitter by shaking it on, I like to take pinches of the glitter and applying it this way. I really feel like it helps out again with everything staying nice and flat. It doesn't kind of bunch up, and I have a little bit more control over the placement of it. Now I'm just going to go ahead and fully load up my tumbler with this glitter here. And then after I am done loading up my tumbler, I'm just going to take my opposite hand and I'm just going to tap everything down. It didn't really need to be tapped too much, and I also like to push it off the rim as well. So I'm just going to tap that down really good. And because I used a little bit more epoxy than normal to adhere the glitter down, I am going to place it onto my turner just to make sure everything stays nice and flat and doesn't slip around on us. Now, after that has cured, I'm going to go ahead and move on to a flood coat over top of our raw glitter here. Now, before I do my flood coat, I did give it a spray of my 2x Ultra there. It just kind of helps out with any wicking away off of our glitter. You know, always better to be safe than sorry. Now, into this flood coat of epoxy, I'm going to add some shapes. This is called Gingerbread Man, and I'm just going to add just a little bit, not too much. I just want a little hints of the little holographic gingerbread guys behind everything that we're going to be doing. And for this flood coat, I'm going to be using, you want to use between 30 to 40 milliliters of epoxy. I didn't use all 40, I just did somewhere in between. So you definitely want a nice coating of that epoxy to go over top of the raw glitter, so that way we can move on quickly to the next step. So after I get my glitter applied here, or my epoxy with the gingerbread guys in it, you just want to smooth everything out and make sure none of those gingerbread guys are kind of on top of each other. So that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and apply my epoxy. And I'm just going to check it one last time to make sure none of those little gingerbread guys are stacked up on each other. I'm going to go ahead and hit it up really good with my torch, and I'm going to let that cure. Now, while this cures, we're going to go ahead and move on to getting our decals put together. So I got this template from Bara Trends Digi Designs, and she is on Etsy. I'll make sure to put her shop in the description below. So this template is so cute. You can use it as intended, like I did here, or we can go ahead and move forward with kind of a different aspect of it. But this template is so extremely easy to use. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and remove that black box that's behind it. And I'm not going to touch anything. I'm not going to touch any size of anything on this. I'm going to leave everything the size that it is as it comes. So the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and delete that because I don't need that. And I'm going to take the hearts and I am going to make those just a little bit bigger. And I'm going to duplicate that because I didn't know how many hearts I wanted to use. So I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate that and attach those together. Now I went ahead and I did change the color of everything. I just highlighted everything and changed it to brown for now, but I am going to separate into colors so that way you guys can see a little bit better what needs to be cut where. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and start making up my pinstriping. So I'm going to take a square. I'm going to unlock my square. I'm going to bring my measurements down to, so the height will be 0.01 or 0.1. That's my height. And then I'm going to bring the width over to 11. So I did about 16 of these pinstripes here. All I did was duplicate and then duplicate again. So I just kind of stack everything together, highlight, and just keep duplicating it that way until I got to the 16 that I need. But that was more than enough. You could even, save it for another project. So, okay, so I'm gonna color the Gingerbread Man pink because They are going to be for a peekaboo. So you want to use your scrap vinyl for the gingerbread guys because we're not going to need them in the end. We just need them for the peekaboo portion. Now the offset of the gingerbread guy, the hearts, and one set of the 16 pinstriping will be in a shimmery gold color. So far, the gingerbread guys, again, will be cut on scrap vinyl, and the rest of the offset with the hearts and the pinstriping will be cut onto a shimmery gold. So then after you're done cutting those, you'll come back in and you'll go ahead and hide all that stuff except for your pinstriping, and you're gonna cut another set of pinstripes in whatever coordinating color you wanna do. I'm gonna do a pale pink as well because I wanna do a gold and a pale pink pinstriping over top of everything. All right, our decals are ready to go. They're all cut and ready. Now our tumbler is all cured and we're just gonna come through and we're gonna clean it up really good. I'm just gonna go ahead and trim all that excess stuff away from off the rim. I like to do it in between all my coats. It just makes it a lot easier, especially whenever it's so fresh. You can really get in there and clean everything out really good so it doesn't kind of stain the inside of your tumbler. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a good sanding. I'm gonna wipe it down really good with some rubbing alcohol, and then we are ready to start getting this design together. So for our main base, I have about a 1-inch masking tape here, painter's tape. I also have my gingerbread guys cut out in my scrap vinyl, and we're gonna go ahead and start taping this up. Now, I wanted a little bit of a buffer zone at the bottom, so I'm just gonna use just 1 tape's width of that painter's tape right at the bottom to kind of mask that off because I plan on doing a double pinstriping at the bottom as well with the pale pink and the gold that we're going to be using. So I'm just going to go ahead and use some tape and cover up that bottom so I don't accidentally get any paint down there. And of course, if you wanted to, you could do this design a little bit on the bottom as well, completely up to you. There is no right or wrong when it comes to making art. Okay, so now we're gonna take a little bit more of our painter's tape and I'm gonna get a line started. So I'm just gonna go from top to bottom. You see it's not straight, it's not anything, it's just kind of at an angle because this is completely abstract. Wherever you want this tape to go, let it go there. But the only thing I try to keep in mind when I'm doing this, because I have done this before, if you guys want to check out that video, I did a Halloween version of this. You just want to make sure that you're leaving enough space for the little decals we want to put in there. But other than that, just let your imagination flow. But if you see, there are points where the tape ended, so I just use that as a starting point for another angle of the tape to go. So you just want this very whimsical, very abstract. Don't overthink it. I know you guys got this. All right, here's a better look at how mine looks. That's pretty much all I did, just very random spots. That's all you want to do, just enough space for little gingerbread guys to kind of fit in there. And there was like one little space where one guy's not going to fit, but that's not a big deal. All right, now it's time to place down our gingerbread template there. So there are going to be some where they're fully in the spots, and then there are going to be some where they're kind of cut in half and put into a different spot as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill up some of these with them whole. And then the ones that are just a little bit too slim, you know, in size, those are going to be the ones where the little gingerbread man gets kind of cut in half. So all right, so now we're going to go ahead and kind of cut one in half. I'm just going to place him kind of half in one square, and then I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and I'm just going to cut him in half. And then I'm just going to bring the other half of him up to the other side of the square there. So I'll show you guys a little bit better here in a second after I peel this back. I'm just going to kind of flip it and I'm going to place it coming right off the other side. So kind of like he got split in half and pushed over there. So again, a few are going to have whole gingerbread guys and a few will have these ones kind of dipping in and out of the squares. All right, so here is how it looks after everything is all applied. We have our template all secured. Everything's nice and pressed flat against the tumbler. Now it's time to take it outside and give it a spray paint. For the base, I'm going to be using this Champagnie Mist because I'm going for more like a gingerbread dough look, and then we're going to come back through and spritz some white on it to kind of look like flour, so it looks like the gingerbread guys were cut out, and you know what I mean? So, and the glitter underneath is like our counter. I don't know, something like that. So, so after I let that dry for a little bit, I am going to come through with just a basic white spray paint, and we're just going to focus the spray paint right over top of the gingerbread guy decals. That's all we want to do. And it doesn't have to be completely covered. You see I'm doing short, quick bursts. They're not fully covered. You just want a little bit of this white to kind of give it just an accent of color around our decals. Again, we're just kind of going for like it looking like maybe flour around the gingerbread man. So that's all we're doing here. And this is how it will look so far. See, it's not fully coated with that, just little bits of bursts of that white. Now I am gonna come through, I know you guys know I like to do this. I like to add a little extra speckles, so I just get that plume going and I let my finger go until just the paint just trickles out the end of the nozzle, and then I'm just gonna load up my tumbler. And of course, this is completely optional, completely up to you if you wanna do this portion. And this is how it will look after you're all done. You're just gonna go ahead and let that dry, and then we're ready to remove our template. All right, we're back inside, and we're gonna go ahead and remove all of our masking that we laid down. So you just want to be very gentle when pulling it back so you don't accidentally scrape your paints and all that. And after we have that removed, it'll be ready to move on to the next step. Now before our pinstriping, I'm going to apply another coat of epoxy. I did give it a spritz of my 2x Ultra just in case that Champagnie Mist wanted to wick this epoxy away. I'm going to go ahead and add about 20 milliliters of epoxy over top of this. After I place it onto my turner, I'm going to hit it up really good with my torch, and then I'm going to let that cure. She is nice and cured, and she's ready to have her finishing details applied. So here is the vinyl that I'm using for the offset. It's like this glittery, shimmery type gold. It's the offset and the little hearts and some of the pinstriping, and the pale pink as well for the other half of our pinstriping. My mat's getting losing its stickiness. I gotta clean my mat. It's kind of folded up there, but it's all good. I'm gonna go ahead and do my silhouettes first. So it's very simple. You just come through, I kind of line it up with the top of it first, and then everything kind of falls in place after that. I'm gonna make sure that I burnish it down each time that I apply these little decals, just to make sure nothing's gonna lift for us in the end. And here for my guys that are cut in half, I'm just gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna line up everything. I'm gonna get it down to the bottom of our paint there and just kind of trim that back so that way it's not overhanging. And then I'm just going to transfer it down to its legs at the bottom there. That's pretty much all I'm going to do. And you see there a little piece of his arms kind of sticking out as well, that it's going beyond the area that I need it to be in. So I'm just going to come through and trim that up as well. So you just want to keep everything inside of the painted area that you did. That's all you want to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish up applying all my little silhouettes onto my gingerbread guys, and then we're ready to move on to the next step. All right, our silhouettes are applied. Now I wanted to come through and add some of these little hearts. So each one is going to get a little heart. So I'm going to give each little gingerbread man a heart next to it. That's pretty much all I'm going to be doing here. And then after you do that, now we're going to get started on that pinstriping. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the pale pink first. I'm going to go ahead and pull back a piece of that pinstriping. And as you notice with some of these lines, you can go ahead and do it straight down. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started and doing fully straight down on this one. But each one of these is going to just have one or two sides of the pink, and then the rest of the sides will have the gold. But I want to show you guys here how I cut my pinstriping. With the coordinating box, you just want to go with the angle of the line that's under it. If you can see there how I'm doing it, you just want to make sure that you line up your cuts with that box so that way you have nice straight pinstriping for the coordinating box that's being applied to. There we go. So that's pretty much all I'm doing here, and I'm also going to take a piece of that pinstripe, the pink pinstriping, and line that bottom barrier that we did as well. So there's going to be a full pink line completely around the bottom of that paint line there. So just do 1 to 2 sides, if not 3, depending on how your box is angled. And then after that, you're going to come through with the rest of that gold pinstriping that we had made up, and you're just going to outline the rest of your boxes or triangles or however they're shaped in the gold. So it's going to give it kind of this really neat dimension to what you're doing. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish applying my last little bit of pinstriping here. I'm going to make sure that all up around the rim is nice and cut and straight and flush against the tumbler. Then I'm going to come through and add one more piece of pinstriping, just kind of offsetting that pink pinstriping we already did along the bottom, just kind of giving it a little extra, adding that two-tone look like we did around our shapes. And then it will be ready for its last finishing coats of epoxy. Whether you take this design and duplicate it as is, or you take it and let it inspire you to create something that is completely your own, I hope that you guys had a lot of fun watching this tutorial today. Again, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.